Hey y'all, it's my Luna coming at you with some Omega energy. My clients always give me subject topics, always, always, always. And I love them as a muse because we'll be in the middle of it, in the thick of it, and then suddenly, boom, something will happen. I'll get some kind of challenge or download or something, and then we start discussing things and we go off on a little tangent. It's one of the best parts of my days. Today I had a little muse about prayer and the energy of prayer. Now, this ain't religious. I told y'all a lot of times what I'm doing is not religious, but I'm gonna be full disclosure. I will prove the existence of how those energies work when it comes to uh, prayer, intentions, manifestation, stuff like this. Over time, you're gonna see the science of it all. Because I believe, or at least it's been my experience, that science dismisses the idea of any deities. Science dismisses the idea that prayer can work in a lot of ways, other than on the emotional level. If you feel like you're doing something, then it makes you feel better, kind of the placebo effect. And that's actually true because it's been my experience. Sometimes when I pray, I just feel better that I'm doing something instead of nothing. But the truth of the matter is, because all things connect to all things, prayer does work, especially when you have prayer in volume. Okay? And then there's other layers to that. That includes understanding the dream state. I know it's like, where does that come from? Like, how does that connect? I'm gonna try to connect it for you in the most simple way as I can, okay? Understanding the dream state, what is going on when we dream, and how prayer connects to that, and the reason why human beings have adapted a schedule for themselves in a lot of ways to pray before they go to sleep and when they wake up. Okay, that's something that's very, very old, very, very old practice, long before any books were written. Having a conversation with the self, the higher self, or God, whatever they believed back then, was customary before going to bed, or before going to sleep, or before going into battle, or before whatever, right? But let's start at that place of understanding prayer and how that works. Okay, energetically speaking, how that works. Your energy, you're setting an intention by thought. Thoughts create electrical currents inside of our brain. It's like electrical currents, yes. Uh, Actions, even me doing this. There's an electrical current, a little current that's going through my brain that's telling my body to innervate my hands. Okay? Now, if you ain't putting no action behind it, it's just a thought. Words going through that current, it doesn't stay inside your head. Mm-mm. Because we have an electromagnetic field outside of our own bodies. Our energy carries. You ever been close to somebody? You can tell in your own life, y'all just go. You ever been close to somebody, like physically close to them, and you can tell something ain't right? You ever get a spidey sense or a sneaking suspicion that somebody about to do something illegal and then it happens? Or somebody about to do something that's kind of off and it happens? We are all innately gifted with these perceptive, energetic waves. We feel them off people all the time. It's not just empaths, y'all. All humans are equipped to sense danger, just like animals are. Like we sense, like we talk about dogs and all that, sensing danger. We can do it too. It's just that a lot of us cut those kind of things off in the sake of somebody telling us that we don't have that, or not making that as more prominent of a thing for us to start to exercise. It's like if you don't use it, you lose it. It's kind of like that. And you know what? Sidetrack, diverging. When it comes to empaths, sometimes the only difference between an empath and a narcissist, because both of them can read people like nobody's business, especially if they're truly what they say they are, is that the empath has been through shit and overcame it, decided to not be a piece of shit or a terrible person to themselves and other people. And the narcissists typically have sidestepped a lot of problematic issues, or instead they've decided that it's a good idea to start just being antagonistic or stealing, taking, achieving, and winning at all costs. It doesn't matter who they step on. And so these are two of the same beings in my experience, and other opinions may differ. But these are two of the same beings. Human beings are innately capable of reading other human beings and sensing danger. There are those in the populace that are better at that than most, and those are the narcissists and the empaths. Okay? At least that's been my experience. Not just my experience, that's been part of my education as well. Okay? But then there's your regular normal people that's not need that's got a little bit of mixture of both of those things in them. Don't make them a bad person. And because I know some narcissists who try really hard to be good people and actually have to practice at it, and they are fully aware that they are narcissists. They don't. It's not something that they wear as a badge, but it does serve them in other places and ways. Because people take that word and assume that it always means an evil person, and that's not necessarily the case. This is uneducated fools that say such things. Anyway, because I've treated a lot of them, or I've sent them to places where they can get treatment, or we've done a lot of shadow work because they chose it. Because narcissists, I don't know too many narcissists that are not successful people. They don't need to work on themselves a lot of the time. They just choose to work on themselves when they do a lot of times. Because they typically are not unintelligent people. Now, that's enough of that divergent. I just wanted to let you know that there's layers and energies, and intellect has something to do with that too. But we all, in some ways, can sense some things about people, whether they open their mouth or not. You can tell when somebody's sad, even if they're trying to smile. At least I can. And most empaths can detect when someone is going through something, whether they're showing it to nobody else or not. But most human beings can do this too if they stick around the energy long enough. They'll sense something ain't right. Whether they act on that intuition or not, doesn't matter. The fact that it's there. That's what I mean about the energy that comes out of you. You are impacting those around you, and those around you are being impacted, are impacting you. So it's almost like sometimes being like, you mad at me, somebody you close to, and you worried about if they mad at you, but they ain't say nothing, but their face look different, their energy weird. You're reading their energy. You're being impacted by their energy, whether they talk or not. It's their thoughts that's creating that current. Now that we all caught up on how the current works inside of the human being when it comes to thoughts, hopefully I've made that as simple as I possibly could. Now, take that to prayer. Now you might say, well, what if they're praying to the wrong God? We're not doing that in here. I don't care about that. For educational purposes, it doesn't matter who you think you're talking to. Whether you think you're talking to God, Yahweh, the devil, Kalima, one of my favorites to read up on, or engage, Gandhi. It doesn't matter who you think you're talking to. I mean, all of them are aspects of what is called, I won't even go into that today, but it doesn't matter. The intention is what matters. I know y'all been told your whole lives that a lot of folks been told their whole lives it matters who you talking to. Because the only thing that like attracts like a lot of time. A lot of times, whatever mirror energy that's in the universe that you're reflecting upon, it's going to meet you. The name need not matter necessarily. What matters is what your attention is when you start to speak. What does your energy feel like when you start to speak? Because that current does something. That energy does something. And so the energy and attention is to pray for yourself or pray for somebody else. You're sending a current outside of yourself. Now, this is the part where, how does the current reach the other currents out there, other human beings? How does it get there? First things first, if you're going to pray for somebody, do it with pure intention. Or if you're praying for yourself, cleanse yourself up a little bit if you can. and do that with an open mind as much as you possibly can. Because I know if prayer is your only answer in a difficult circumstance, you can't always. It's probably impossible sometimes to have a clean mind. So just do it anyway, and then decide the company you keep after that. All company that you can manage it, that you keep after you start praying for yourself to have better, do better, whatever the case may be, or for somebody else, then keep your energy field clear because you don't want nothing impacting the road to your energy getting to where it needs to get. Your intention, no different than if I take a football and I toss it, my intention is to get to whoever I'm tossing to, but it don't always land there, but it's still gonna go in that direction. And that's how a lot of the energy works, especially as it pertains to prayer. You are setting the intention and you're sending the energy towards an object, that person, place, or thing. And the energy carries and travels. Now, if you want a little additional help with that, sometimes you'll pray to a deity, your ancestors, things like this, to help whatever energy get to wherever it's going. And that's how that works. Now, am I saying that deities exist? I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying that. I know that sounds cheeky, right? But here's the thing. I believe all things exist as long as we think they do. So if you take that with a grain of salt. Also, like, there are some historical records out there. I mean, not that all historical records are accurate, that there's some evidence of divine beings being on this plane to assist and jetting out and saying they're going to come back. So, I mean, it doesn't matter for this discourse necessarily. But if you really want to know, I'm not ashamed of saying that I believe in divine beings. I do. And various types. That's it. Anyway, and here's the thing. If I'm being honest, it's not about belief for me. I mean, and belief requires faith and all that stuff. It's not belief or faith for me. And if you know things, you know things. And that's kind of like an unfair advantage I have at this particular point. But I know things. And I still have faith, even though I try to convince myself I don't know things. It's kind of like that. See how complicated that can get? That's why I don't talk about it. Now let's go to the dream space. The dream space is not here. I know this gonna get real trippy, or it could be simple. We're gonna try to keep it as simple as possible. Because there's not a human being alive right now, other than those probably in the spiritual community, those in the astrophysics community, if they be so inclined to theorize about such things. And I say theorize, not applied, because there's nothing in applied sciences right now that can disprove what I'm about to say. They can theoretically understand some things, and they can assign labels and put things in boxes where they think it goes. But theoretical science is not applied. The difference between the two, I know, hopefully I'm not boring y'all. The difference between the two is one is I've used mathematical equations to tell you this is what could be, but I cannot prove it to you that this is what is. Applied science is like I've actually done something, take some actions in this dimension. And it's not just things I think is what it is. It's like, well, this person has a wet spot on their pants. I didn't see where it came from. This is how the difference between theory and applied. I didn't see where it came from. And every day, every week, at least once a week, during the spring, they have a little wet spot on their pants. I think they pee themselves every week. That's theoretical. Applied is, I'm going to go out there and watch them and see what happens for a whole damn week during the spring and see what goes down. And then they figure out this person is sitting at a bus stop after it rains and they're too tired from work to stand up. So they just take that L and let their pants seat get wet. That's applied. You see the difference between applied and theoretical? Theoretical can have some things wrong. So you have to go into it with that understanding. Okay? So now that we've understood that, let's go for the dream space. There are different dimensions in which our brain can cover when it comes to time space. When we're dreaming, there are only theoretical assumptions about what happens in our dreams. There's nothing applied that anybody can prove or disprove. I can say whatever I want right here. Doesn't mean I'm going to do so irresponsibly. Now that's the reason why you got the little snippet of education. We dream on different dimensions of consciousness. I firmly believe, and you don't have to believe it, you can just do some research and to figure out what you believe. But for this discourse, I believe that our versions of ourselves, including ancestors and things of this nature, are on those different dimensions energetically because they're no longer in matter. Okay? On top of everybody else who's dreaming is in those different dimensions. Okay? And so this dimensional plane, we're limited by our bodies. This is why a lot of people have dreams of flying and things like this, because you don't have any limits. And those dimensional planes, the higher up in those dimensions you go, the more likely you're going to have more and more superpowers and things like this, right? And that you get more aware of your dream and have lucid dreaming and stuff like this, the higher your vibration, okay? But that is the only space in which we can honestly say that we've had loved ones talk to us. And theoretical science will tell you that's just your brain doing some wish fulfillment. You missed this person, so you brought that thought into your brain, and then that person appeared. What you don't understand is energy signatures and imprints is energy signatures and imprints, so it doesn't matter if the person just willed it. It's a dream. They created a space in which your ancestors can appear and come in. You can't explain why that person came in clearly. And sometimes the things and messages that an ancestor will give a person in a dream is not something you can prove that they learned from any other space. So that's why theoretical science is sometimes flawed. Okay? I know from personal experience, the dreams I've had from ancestors since I was knee-high to a flea have given me some insights on things I wouldn't have otherwise known at all. Okay? And so with that, started to study the different dimensions and planes to understand how that works, if it works. And if we have access in this way, why don't we explore that a bit more? And I found out it was more like, okay, this is religious, this is kook and spook, this is all kinds, like you're knocking it like as if it's not a real phenomenon or a thing. And excuse me, I live not far away from a military base, so sometimes there's some planes that fly over. If y'all hear that in the background, I apologize. Anyway, so with that, understanding that, I decided to go there so that I can understand it better for myself. Now I understand it. Many people, majority of people around the world, has had some kind of, at least one prophetic dreams in which not necessarily ancestors told them anything or somebody who's passed on, but they saw something in a dream and then in real life it occurred. Okay, at least once in their life. It may not happen routinely, but at least once. Or something in their dream space helped them understand something in their waking life at least once. So if that's going down, how can we find a place in a space in which we can understand, this energy is real. Okay, that's way longer than usual. I don't know what's going on, guys. That's not no plane. That's not a regular plane. It's like the vibration is shaking everything around me. Sorry about that. That's weird. Anyway, so on that, when you think about it from the space of everybody's having this experience and we didn't dive into it, but why? Because like we said before, if you don't use it, you lose it. Humanity has drifted so far away from natural talents and gifts, and I think it's because there's a lot of folk back in the days, and when I say back in the days, I mean back in the days. Some people who are in the spiritual community know this, even though some won't admit it. There's abuse of power rampant and all over the place. Some of them trying to do it now too, but it's not gonna happen. I mean, it is what it is on that. But just need to hear that. Abuse of power was rampant. This is from my understanding. Y'all ain't got to co-sign this part. It is what it is. And this is my understanding thus far as to why humanity has drifted so far away from their spiritual selves. Not everybody was bad actors, but back in the day when I was in elementary school, sometimes the teachers would say, the good guys suffer for the bad. And that's what this whole place is. Good suffering for the bad. And a lot of the systems that are in place now and a lot of this connectedness from my spirit, it's the good suffering for the bad a lot of the time. I will go further into that, but that's not the conversation we have in today. And sometimes I digress. I don't know how to not do that because I'm always thinking, okay? And let's get back to this dream state. If you use your energy when it comes to things that we don't talk about as humans a lot of the time, like dreaming within your dream, journaling your dream, trying to remember your dream, applying anything you learn in your dream to your real life, you'll start to shape at least another energy ball about yourself. I understand that when I go to sleep, I'm not here. I'm physically here, I'm not mentally here. Mentally, I'm in some other dimension. What dimension? I don't know. And it can vary. At least that's been my understanding. It can vary. But sometimes in those dimensions, I can see loved ones that's passed away, or I see things that I shouldn't have possibly known other than seeing that dream. I have deja vu during my waking hours because I forgot a dream. Hint, hint. Where deja vu comes from, this is just my little happy opinion is, you've dreamed something and had a prophetic dream. You forgot it. And then that moment happens. And boom, you have deja vu because you did experience it before. Some people like to think, oh, I experienced this in a past life and it's happening again. Well, that don't make no damn sense and it serves no purpose. But what does is that you had a prophetic dream. And you woke up and it was one of those days you forgot your dream and it slowly drifted away from you before you had a chance to write it down or record it or anything. And the thing you had the prophecy about happened. And you're like, well, shit, it feels like I did this before because you did. There it is. If you want the answer on that one. Anyway, so that's where deja vu comes from. Now, other theoretical science, mental sciences would differ from my opinion. But that's the thing about theories. You can't prove or disprove my version of the truth with a theory. You can only argue against mine based on your own theory. And mine sounds like the best. That makes the most sense. Anyway, at least I'm biased about me. But let me go on here. Now we understand the build up to dream state in prayer. You know what I'm saying? Well, how are we connecting these two? Because of understanding these things from an energetic perspective, as well as a dimensional perspective, we can understand that there is a connection to this plane, but it's very brief and as a window. When you first wake up from a dream, a lot of times, folks, you start to slowly forget that dream because that dimension is fading from your energetic field, wherever you were while you were dreaming. But you have a little bit of time when you still kind of in it and you're feeling, you can see little details and remember little things about it. That's when that dimension is still, it's kind of like you're leaving out of the store and you're going into the heat of the summer, but the store has AC, and just as you were leaving the store, you have a little bit of that AC on your back. Kind of like that. You still have a little bit of that energy on you. You're still a part of the store itself. You're still a part of the energy as you're first waking up. But as your mental self and your energy comes completely back into your body, this is why you're paralyzed, because energetically you are not here. Even though you're not dead, you're not here. As your body begins to move, you begin to get less foggy and groggy. You're coming back fully to this dimension. And this is where prayer is probably the most powerful. This is, if you didn't know, this is me encouraging you to pray if you'd like to pray, but also doing so with setting an intention that's going to be beneficial to you. Okay? Every layer of education counts. As those dimensions are apparent, because I don't know about nobody else, most people don't see their dead relatives just walking around the house all day or in the middle of the grocery store and stuff like this, right? A lot of times, even people who are atheists and things like this, if you're gonna see a relative that's passed on, just for ancestors' sake, we're gonna use that example. You see a relative that passed on, you're gonna see them in your dream space. Okay? Now, if I told you you're going into the same space that they're gonna be, the planes that they're gonna be on energetically, your best option is to try to get that energy, because this one and that one. The reason why I said that is these are two different dimensions, and they don't, even though they're probably right next to each other, they're not overlapping with each other. Otherwise, again, we'd be seeing their relatives every damn well all the time. Okay? Now, there are people on this plane that can understand and see multiple dimensions while standing in one. These are special people. I call them special, but very, very difficult thing to deal with a lot of the time. But people like that exist. Anyway, I'm not talking about that. Barring that, your average human being are not seeing all that. What they're experiencing is this dimension while they're awake and other dimensions when they're asleep. And there's a barrier between the two, which is, believe it or not, this meat suit. So for some reason, that's the barrier. However, as you're fully getting unfoggy and ungroggy, and all the body parts is starting to be innovated by your spirit and your energy again, you have a little window of time where you're connected to both. That's why you're so foggy. This is why you remember your dream for like 5 seconds and suddenly it's gone. There is a wall, which is called the veil, between these two planes. Mm-hmm. You ever seen people in the spiritual community say the veil is thin? So when they do a lot of their candle stuff and say a lot of their prayers to the ancestors, because they're trying to get as much through while they're awake as they can. Because normally, a lot of your prayers ain't going no damn well other than to each other. And that's okay. You understand this particular conversation we're having right now, then you understand what I'm trying to help you with. Connecting between by praying before you go to sleep. You're going, and make sure if you're going to pray before you go to sleep, don't start watching TV for 3 hours and thinking that's going to come with you. That's not how that works. Before you know you're about to fall asleep is when you should pray. Because you're bringing some of that energy field with you. I explain to you this way. I know it's going to sound gross, but bear with me. Because energy, it fades over time. All energy fades over time. Especially if you're no longer in that energy anymore. Okay? No different than your body decomping after you die. All energy fades and transforms into something else. Okay? It never dies. It just transforms into something else. Anyway, so you ever been around somebody who got funky breath or who has BO? And then it's like strong, and you got to get away from them. But when you do finally get away from them for the next 5-10 minutes, you can still smell it like that. And then slowly over time, the smell gets out of your nose, hairs, and all that. The energy starting to dissipate. The cells that cause the smell to be up in your nose hairs is starting to dissipate as you're taking in other CO2 and oxygen, and it's filtering out of you. Okay? It's like that. So if you get on your knees to go to bed and you pray to either a deity or your ancestors, and then you get in bed and you watch 5 hours of TV, that energy is going to stay right in that room with you and probably connect to the person next to you, and that's about it. If you understand how energy works, you can be more methodical and intentional with what you are doing. That's what this is about. So if you take that, understanding those properties I've just explained, hopefully it wasn't too complicated for anybody. Understand those properties I've just explained. Now we know Right before we start getting that last bit of grogginess of sleep, we're going to pray. Mm-hmm. To whomever you believe in, whatever you believe, and then you're going to bring that with you into the other dimensions energetically. When you first wake up, this is one of the best times to pray because you know for sure you're still in that energy when you first wake up because you're groggy, you're still trying to figure out everything. And on some side stuff, I'm gonna get there in a moment. The witch is riding me. Come on, y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all what that is real quick so we can stop with that foolishness. We find it's time to put that to bed. Anyway, but you already know where you just came from, especially if you remember that you at least had a dream. That's the best time to pray. Don't even get out that bed. You sit up. You put your hands in that T formation. I need y'all to understand mudras because this is a mudra, but it's one of the weaker ones out there. This mudra, or the triangle formation of your hands, is a harnesser of energy. You can choose to pray like this still if you want to, but if you want that energy to travel itself a little bit further, you can go ahead and use this mudra. And look up the word mudra so you can know what I'm talking about. Different hand placements that channel energy a certain way. Okay? I don't want to make it too complicated for y'all today. I'm just telling you, pray. So don't keep it simple because most people pray like this. Okay? Put them hands together, sit up, close your eyes, take a deep breath and say the thing that you'd like to say. Ask for the thing you'd like to ask for. Respectfully, of course, because you don't want to be disrespected. If you was over there and keep it moving, then release it like the dream. Like going with the rest of your day, not thinking about it. If you can possibly manage it, and just release it to either, whatever it is. See, if you're looking at this, I'm just going to assume that you're learning these things or trying to learn these things or learning more about yourself. You're doing shadow work. You're trying to evolve. I'm teaching you how to do that piece by piece. See, before this day, I've been looking for others who are teaching others how to evolve. Now I'm just like, I'm just going to do my job and hopefully they're doing this. Now, I told y'all before we wrap up, I was going to say a thing about the witches robbing you and sleep paralysis. Now, again, let's go back to scientific theories say all kinds of things about sleep paralysis and blah, blah, blah. But what they don't say is that sleep paralysis is a symptom of your spirit being still trapped in other dimensions for whatever reason. Your energetic vibration. I think it's kind of scary to tell the truth about what happens when we go to sleep. The whole truth and nothing but. And that is, the body itself is being left here and you are not here. Your energy, the thing that's making you think right now and blink your eyes, is not here in this body when you're sleeping. And sometimes, and this is called astral projection. We're going to get into that another day. But sometimes when it's time to wake up or when your body's, the chemicals that's keeping you asleep is wearing off. We got a whole ass machine, y'all. It's wearing off. You ain't done playing in other dimensions. So what happens is your body starts, the chemicals that are in your body that are not in your spirit is waking you up. So you're part over there mentally, and you're part over here, but physically you can't do nothing about it because you still need that energy that is you, not just the chemicals. It's the chemicals and the energy, the electronic wave, the pulses is what creates movement that you can do automatically. And if you partly over there and partly over here, that's not what happens. So a lot of times we panic. And when we panic, we're like, what the fuck? Let me in! And it's scary. But in a lot of those cases, it's just you trying to get back in. Y'all have a good one. I love you.